Hi, thank you for joining me today, and in today's video I'm going to be documenting some photos of a recent Billy Joel concert that my daughter and I went to in Hyde Park in London. It was an absolutely spectacular day. This was her Christmas present and we thoroughly enjoyed it, although it was very, very hot. It was 29 degrees, which we're definitely not used to in the UK. So you can see I've pulled a Spectrum Gardenia paper here. The top photo is Billy singing Piano Man, and you can see the sunset in the background. That was actually taken from the screen above him. The right hand photo is him on the piano, and the left hand photo is again from the screen above him. We were really fortunate to have tickets that meant we could go right to the very front of the stage, so it was an amazing experience. So I'm just going to mat these photos. They're 3x4, matting them onto white cardstock just to make them stand out a little bit. I've also pulled out some of the frames, acetate frames, film strip frames from the Gardenia collection. And this piece here that I'm just adding in now is a die cut from one of the Aall Create dies that we sell at Hey Little Magpie. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I thought it would work really nicely with the industrial feel of the photos because you can see all the lighting and everything above Billy Joel there. So I just thought that worked really, really nicely. So just working out the positioning of the photos, I chose this paper because it's got the orange ombre on it, and you can see the sunset in that photo of Billy Joel in the top left, and also the pinks of the crowd in the one on the right hand side. So I thought this would work nicely along with the rest of the bits and pieces from Spectrum Gardenia. So I'm just getting those photos positioned now. I want to create that sort of trio there with them all at different places, so different heights and different widths, so that they're not directly above and below one another. Hope I'm making sense. I know what I'm trying to say, but sometimes words, honestly. So I'm just cutting a little bit of that die cut from the back so that I can use it in the bottom left hand corner. If you've watched me before, you know that I do like to mirror things. So if I use something in one part of the layout, I'll try and mirror it diagonally or horizontally or vertically across the layout. So the same with that sort of grey solid film strip. I've cut it in half and used the one half at the top and then the other half at the bottom, but I've not created it so it looks like it's one continual piece. I've offset them against one another so it's clear they're two separate pieces. So just using my wet glue now to glue that die cut down, just adding a little bit of glue on some of those very thin, delicate edges. And then the same with this film strip. Just adding the glue around. It's fairly opaque, so the glue's not going to show through, and I will be adding some bits and pieces around it anyway. So there's that piece that I rescued from the back of the die cut that I'm just sticking in the bottom left-hand corner there. And I just cut that from some plain black cardstock. So just tucking that under so it peeks out. And now I'm coming in with my Elle Studio large Jane stamps. I'm using the outlines because I wanted to emulate the rub-ons on the 12x12 sentiment stickers. If you've seen them, sentiment rub-ons, sorry. If you've seen them, they've got like a whitewash inside them. So I thought this outline stamp would work really nicely to create that sort of look. So I'm going to write Piano Man with the stamps, and what I intend on doing is making Amelia an album of all of the songs that we saw for her Christmas present. She did film little snippets of each of the songs that he sang, or most of them anyway, so I thought it'd be really nice to get some screenshots of those films and create layouts for her. She's obsessed with Billy Joel. It's so funny. She was only 15 at the time when she said she wanted to go, so of course I jumped at the chance because I remember him from my childhood in the 70s and 80s. So just adding that man now, and I've used my archival ink from Ranger to add this down because I want to add some white to the centres and I don't want the black line to bleed at all, so making sure that I'm using permanent ink. So you can see there the rub-ons that I'm talking about, and I'm just pulling some of the bits from that. First of all, this stripe, so just adding that underneath the title to kind of ground it. I'm rubbing that on, and then I'll pull some more little bits. There are some arrows and things that work really well. And these just all add to the grungy sort of feel. And I've not really done any journaling on this layout. As I say, it's going to be one of many in an album, so I don't need to put loads and loads, but each of the layouts that I do, I will title with the name of the song. And before we went to the concert, we went for a lovely meal at the Darwin Brasserie in the Sky Garden, and I took some photos there, so I'll include those as well in her album. So you will see plenty of photos from this trip coming up. It was just a day trip. Well, we stayed overnight in Boreham Wood, which is just outside London. So James stayed at home. Ross is still at work. He's a teacher. So they drove down to London to the Premier Inn that we were staying at, and met us there afterwards. Unfortunately, there were some train issues, so we did have to get a taxi, but that was fine at the end of the concert. And we met them and sat up for a couple of hours having a drink and chatting. And then we had a nice day trip out on the way home as well. So here I am with that white paint that I was talking about. It's just a white acrylic. It's actually drying out a little bit, and I'm trying to dry brush onto these letters. I probably should have used a slightly smaller brush, but it did work out fine. And the P and the I are actually stamped on top of that acetate, and that's another reason for using that archive link. It works really nicely on acetate. So I won't make you watch me doing all of this, but you can see I'm just using the paint fairly dry onto the layout so that you get that lovely washed out effect. And you see the dragging lines of the paintbrush as well. So there it is all done, and now I'm just going to go through the ephemera pieces to see what else I can add to pretty this layout up a little bit. So I find this tag that says love this, and I think that'll work really nicely tucked in next to that photo there. And then I decide, because I'm left-handed, I probably should put these on the left-hand side. I don't know why I always put them on the right-hand side of myself. So this is a nice piece that we'll just add as another mat to that top left-hand corner. And then that black heart is going to go there, but I do move it around a little bit. This Forever and Always is lovely, and it works really nicely with the orange on that top left-hand photo. So I shall add that in at the top there. And now I'm going into the 6x8 rub-ons because I wanted to find a word phrase to add above that Forever and Always piece. And I find the very best. And it's in pink, so it brings the pink in from that photo on the right. So I just tuck that in under there and rub that on. I just need to check that it's straight. So I use my T-square ruler because it's quite a blocky layout. I want to make sure that everything's straight on before rubbing it down. I do love these rub-ons from 49er Market. They go on like a dream. So now I'm going to start gluing everything down. So first of all, that Forever and Always piece, and then this Love This. And just tucking it under enough to hide that hole at the bottom of the tab there. So as I say, moving that black heart around and around, but then I find an orange ticket, and this will be where I add my date stamp. So that works really nicely there. And then the black heart can just sit at the bottom. So I'm bringing out this Aall Create stamp, and it's got some little stars with circle doodles around them. So I'm just first of all going around in the black archival ink again to add some detail around the page. And then I'll pull one of the smaller stars out and use one of my pink inks. I think it's Picked Raspberry that I use for the smaller star. And here you can see I'm just using a piece of card to mask off the photo so that I can get a half star stamp right against the edge of the photo without having to lift it. And again, that one at the top is over the top of that acetate, and that works really nicely with the archive link. So here I am pulling out that smaller star now, and as I say, I'll use my Picked Raspberry to add that around. And again, it's bringing that pink in. It's the perfect match to the pink in that right hand photo there. So just stamping around and overlapping those onto the black stars as well. So gluing down that ticket and the heart finally, deciding exactly where to put it. And then this is a die cut paperclip from the stationery die that we've got at Hey Little Magpie. So just adding that to the top for a little bit of interest. And I want to bring the height up in that top left hand corner. I feel like it's a little bit bottom heavy at the moment. First of all, I want to fill in this frame on the left hand side because I feel that's a bit empty as well. So I went through that 6x8 rub-on pack again and just chose these red rub-ons that I thought will fill that in really nicely. It's just a subtle bit of something that adds some interest to that frame. So rubbing those on above that ticket, and then I've cut off another little ink splodge to add to the left of the ticket as well. So there's that piece, just checking that it doesn't peel up and tucking the bits underneath. And then these are the bits that I was saying that I just add to the left of the ticket. And it does overlap onto the frame a little bit, and that's really nice. I like the look of that. These rub-ons are ever so forgiving. You can go over different layers of things with these and they don't crack or break. So now bringing some of that over to the right hand side, just above that word Piano Man. Lifting up that die cut so that it tucks under. I want everything to meld together really, so tucking things under rather than laying them next to things makes it much better. And this rub-on does have a fairly solid line at the top, so just find a few more bits on that sheet to soften that line to the right of the die cut there. So this has some black ink splodges and also a little bit of that grid texture. I don't know how clearly you can see it on the screen, but it's just softening that edge a little bit. So now those are down, I'm going to work a little bit more on that top left-hand corner. So first of all, bringing in some more of these gorgeous chevrons up the side of that photo. And then I remember from that stationery die cut, I've got this lovely big black bulldog clip. So I'm going to add that to the top left-hand corner of the photo and then add some orange twine, wax twine to the hole and drag that down the left-hand side of the page. And that really adds balance to that bottom right-hand. Like I say, I felt the bottom right-hand corner was a little bit heavy. So bringing something up here just adds a bit of balance. So just tucking those threads underneath the photo, and I add a dot of glue there, just hold it in place. And the ends trail right down underneath that ticket at the bottom. So now I'm going to come in with some white splatters, just using my white paint. I don't want to water it down too much because I do want the white to show, and the more you water it down, the more translucent it becomes, but obviously it needs to be liquid enough to add the splatters. And it does add a big splatter to that top left-hand corner when I go back into that there. But actually it looks really nice now the layout's finished. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining me. I should just add my date stamp to that ticket in the bottom left-hand corner. And that's the layout done. I'll leave you with some close-ups. Thanks for joining me. I shall see you soon. Bye.